Okay, so today I will be talking about how we are going to add and subtract with using algebra tiles. So algebra tiles kind of look like the base 10 units, but they have different meanings, and you mostly can use them in algebra like problems. So you have a positive x to the second power and you have a negative x to the second power. You can use these two as to find, or they're meant for area of a large square. So it would be x times x equals x to the second power. And then these longs that we have are for area of a rectangle, which would be 1 times x equals x. And then these ones that I have are an area of a square, so it would be 1 times 1, and these are equal to 1. So you have positive and negatives, and I will be doing adding and subtracting. So the first problem I have is positive 2 plus positive 1. So what I'm going to do is take a positive 1's unit and another positive, and then I'm going to add one more positive. So when you add these together, you have 1 plus 1, which is, so this equals 2, then plus 1 more, which is going to equal 3. So the next problem I have is negative 2 plus negative 1. So what you're going to do is going to take 2 negative tiles and then you're going to add one more negative tile, which if you add, it will be a negative 3. So a negative 1 plus a negative 1 plus a negative 1 is negative 3. The next question I have is 3 plus negative 1. So what I'm going to do, since this 3 is positive, I'm going to be adding, I need 3 positive tiles. It's 1, 2, 3. Alright, and then I'll be adding a negative 1. So now here comes the tricky part. Since a negative 1 and so I have a positive, 3 positives and 1 negative. Now what we can do here is cancel out a positive and a negative, because a positive and a negative is equals 0. It's called the zero principle. A positive and a negative cancels each other out. Cross these out. Oops. And then what I have left over is just 2 positive tiles. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So that's my answer for that one. And then now I'm going to have a positive 3 plus a negative 3. So what I need first is 3 positive tiles to represent the positive 3. And then I need 3 negative tiles to represent the negative 3. And now for my last question, we talked about the zero principle and how a positive and a negative can cancel each other out. Well, if you look, I have 3 positives and 3 negatives, so they would cancel everything. They would cancel each other out. So there's 1 that I can cancel out. So now I have 2 positives and 2 negatives. I still have 2 left over that I can cancel out. So there's that 1 and this one. I now have a positive and a negative. I can still cancel those 2 out. I cancel out the negative. And now I have nothing left over. So my answer is going to be 0. Next question is -4 minus -3. So what I first need is 4 negative units Alright, so I have 4 negative units, and now it would be minus -3. So when you're subtracting negative numbers, the subtraction and the negative kind of cancel each other out. It would make it a positive. So instead of doing -4 minus -3, I could do, we switch the sign to positive. So I would switch these negatives to positives. If I can grab it. There we go. Alright, so now I have -4 minus 3. So now we use the 0 principle, and I can cancel out my negatives and positives. So that one cancels out with this one. And now I have 3 negatives and 2 positives. Well, I could cancel out more. So here's another negative I can cancel out with another positive. So now what I have left over is a positive and 2 negatives. I still see one more that I can cancel out. So I'm going to cancel out this negative number, and then I'm also going to cancel out this positive tile. And now what do I have left over? I have a negative left over. So my answer would be -1. Okay. My next question is -5 plus -3. This one kind of reminds me of, the +3 plus -3, but it's just switched around. So I first need 5 negative tiles. And then I'm going to need 5 positive tiles. So what I see here is that I have the same amount of positives and the same amount of negatives. So again, we are going to use the 0 principle, and I can just cancel out my negatives and positives. So there's one. So when I cancel out 1 of each, I have 4 left over. So I have 4 left over in the negatives, and I have 4 left over in the positives. So I'm just gonna, I know I have more to cancel out, so I'm gonna cancel out another one. I'm gonna cancel out another one. You're gonna have 3 negatives and 3 positives. So that's the same amount. So I'm just gonna keep canceling them out until I get nothing. The 0 principle. So now, when I cancel everything out, it looks like I'm not going to have anything left over. So that means my answer is going to be 0. Perfect. Alright, so next, my last and final question is -8. -8 minus -11. For first, what I'm going to need is 8 negative units. Okay, and then next I'm going to need, oh, that's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, so I have 8 negatives, and now on the other side I'm going to need 11 negatives. So right now I have 8 negatives. I'm going to need 3 more. Alright, since I'm subtracting 2 negatives, this sign is going to stay the same, but I'm going to change these into positives. So I'm going to bring these positive tiles down to switch them. And now what I'm seeing again is I can use the zero principle to get my final answer. So I'm going to cancel out. I'm just going to delete them this time so I don't have to scribble them out. But what I see is I have 8 negatives and I have 11 positives. So I know I have some that I can cancel out. So I'll start with 1 negative. Delete that. Then I can delete a positive. So now I have 7 negatives and then 10 positives, but I know I can cancel those out. Alright, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 positives. So I know I'm going to be able to cancel out another negative and another group of positives. Oops, I just deleted my equal sign. Well, undo. There we go. So I'm just going to keep on going. Just deleted my subtraction sign. Alright, so now I have 3 negatives and 6 positives. So I know I can keep on going. Delete another one. Alright, 2 negatives left. Okay, we're just going to delete that one early, I guess. Alright, so what I'm left over is 3 positives. So now I know my answer is going to be a positive 3. And that is how you add integers and subtract integers with using algebra tiles. Thank you.